Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Bill Ecay, founder of SignalWorks Studios, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Welcome, Bill. So great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Kay. It's really great to be here. I really appreciate the time and the spotlight.
Of course. Well, I'm excited to dive in and share all about your business and learn about it. But before we do that, I would love to share a little bit about you with my audience. So take me back as far as you like and share a bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I started my career as a designer, graphic designer, and I've been in marketing and advertising for many, many years in that role. I've also done UX design, and I've always had a design mindset. But I've always liked to write on the side. So I'm a writer. Like I journal, and I've been journaling forever. And so a couple of years ago, I decided I really wanted to kind of invest in myself in that area. And sort of branched out from my kind of main career path and got into ghostwriting for clients online. I utilized LinkedIn as my, main channel to get work and that's my new kind of endeavor, and that's the business that I want to talk about.
Ooh, well, I am excited to learn about your creative work. Okay, so when did you start? Like when was like that aha moment, or was it an aha moment? You're like, I want to
Yeah.
be in business.
Yeah, I mean, it was, let's see, I'm thinking back now. It's 2024, I believe. I had been, agency side, advertising agency side for many, many years. I'd been through a couple of layoffs. Things are challenging in the economy since 2020-ish, and stuff. And I had been laid off. I had been freelancing and, making some money, but I realized that, hey, this is a great time right now to kind of double down, invest on myself and see if, I've always had a kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. I've taken classes in financing and, like money mastery and all for the expressed intent upon, like building my own business. And so 2024 was a time where I realized, let me put together all of these pieces and start, launching myself as my own business, as my own kind of studio or consultancy. And so I saw this. I happened to be kind of just meandering around on YouTube, and I saw this podcast. Ali Abdal. I don't know if you know him, but he does a lot of like productivity podcasts, and you could see his work on YouTube. And he was interviewing this writer, ghostwriter Nicholas Cole, and they were kind of getting into it, and the content was so inspiring. And it was like Nicholas was talking about, ghostwriting as a business and how we're in an age where we a lot of people are moving online and they need to market themselves online, and they don't have a lot of help. I mean, who markets themselves? Like we're always intent on doing business for our clients, and we're always the last to work on our own marketing. So, it was just a very inspiring kind of conversation about how, I could delve into my writing background, utilize that, and help clients to realize their kind of organic growth needs online and to support their business. And so I just was like, wow, this is something that I need to pursue now.
Okay, that is super cool, especially as a creative, and you're just like got that itch. And so now take me through the business today. Like, who is let's start with like your ideal client. Like, who are those people that you're like, if I walked through your doors or saw you online, how would I know I'd be a great fit for you?
Yeah, definitely. So my ghostwriting can work for anybody, really. because that's the structure of it. I'm writing behind the scenes, but my ideal client are people, healthcare professionals in the kind of metabolic syndrome or metabolic disease state area. And
Okay.
the reason that I kind of like am interested in that is partially because of my own health situation or challenges. I'm healthy, but like I've got these kind of interesting like episodes throughout life, and I've been in healthcare marketing for gosh, over 15 years now. So it just seemed like a natural kind of fit. I speak the language. I help in my agency experience. I've helped um, pharma and healthcare companies to market themselves, to translate complex science into user-friendly language that people can consume and be inspired by and kind of participate with. So it just seemed like a natural flow for me, and I really think that there is a great need in the area of metabolic health as we learn more about diabetes and about how, our kind of healthcare system, but also our food systems have kind of contributed to the rise of some of these, chronic diseases. So I really want to be somebody who helps the general public in that area. So it's just a natural fit, taking my writing background and my interest in health topics and bringing them together.
Okay. Okay. Incredible. Now, looking at your current team, I want to like hear how your team is. You're the sole owner. Now, is there any other ownership structure involved or and second part of that question is tell me about your employees. How many employees do you currently have?
Well, I am a sole proprietor, so my team is basically Claude and ChatGPT. I do all of my own kind of outreach and sales, and all my own fulfillment, product fulfillment, and all of that. So it's just a love of mine. So I'm not. It's not that I'm not open to the possibility of becoming more like an agency and working from an agency model and hiring people. It's that, like where I'm at right now, I've found a kind of sweet spot where I can pay closer attention to my clients. And I can still, balance the business and the lifestyle and all of that. So I'm kind of in this sweet spot, and yeah.
Oh, okay, incredible. So, so currently, how is your marketing? Because this is like a big one for entrepreneurs, is how are you finding your clients? Are you focused on, is it like word of mouth? Is it more so a like social media marketing, SEO? Like what's kind of your secret sauce?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, word of mouth definitely helps. I've brought in my current client right now is through word of mouth. But I also do focus on outreach. So my platform, my preferred platform is LinkedIn. So I'll kind of like look at people on LinkedIn and kind of vet them and kind of qualify them, and then I'll just do outreach. And I do it at a scale that allows for, you can imagine the scale would need to be kind of large, and I've got a system in place for doing all that, but I just keep hitting that and outreach so that I can, bring in business.
Definitely. And how's that been going with LinkedIn? Because I'm curious about LinkedIn too, using it more. How has that experience been? And do you find a lot of leads there? And then how do you bring them through? Do they go into kind of a CRM or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I have my own CRM that I track, people with, but yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, it's all about reaching out, broadening your network, and doing, putting up content that your ideal client would like. Um, but we have content pillars, and this is something that I teach to my clients. You need to be developing your content pillars, and you kind of publish your content from those pillars. And so I do that on my own, and then I'll do outreach. I'll connect with people. I'll start conversations. I'll comment. I'll just broaden my pool in my chosen kind of field and start conversations. And conversations can lead to business. They could lead to just, like, hey, friends, I'm always happy to help, and I'm always happy um, to comment on people's posts and throw in little tidbits of things that I think might be helpful to them. Um, and so those kinds of conversations come around, the more that you just kind of like allow yourself to be in the space and be making friends at scale, basically. You're just making friends with people and having conversations, and then you're making offers, and that's how it kind of works, just kind of being in that space.
Oh, incredible. Especially like when you can find that like a great spot where your clients are at or your potential clients are at, then you can like really drive the business forward and provide a lot of value. And so
Yeah.
um I kind of want to know, what does it look like as like a founder? Are you mostly working right now in the business or on the business, or is it just a lot of both?
It's both. It's absolutely both. I mean, when there's downtime and I'm not working in the business, I'm working on the business for sure. I mean, you're always working on the business, right? Um, so that's always there. And yeah, I love to work for people and for clients and do the work itself. Does that answer
Mhm.
your question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. So now I want to kind of dive into the like where you see the company going. So where do you see yourself growing in the next, I know, 3 to 5 years? I know in this crazy world, it's hard to even think what's happening tomorrow, but
Yeah.
what is your kind of your goals with the business here in the future?
Yeah. I want to scale it to a point where I could definitely take on a partner or two, and then kind of like build the infrastructure. There's a lot happening now, obviously, with AI, and I happen to be in love with Claude Cowork right now, and I'm trying to build. I'm building an end-to-end kind of process where I can be putting leads in, and I can be qualifying and developing and brainstorming and like tracking and working end to end through the whole business. So I would love to work with a founder, you know, a partner, and then kind of take a little bit more of a step back and allow the partner and myself to manage the agency, Claude agency, and do things in life, do more, kind of like work-life balance, travel, and enjoy the beauty of life.
Oh, that's incredible. I love those goals. And, as business owners, sometimes there's challenges that we face. A lot of times there's challenges that we face. And I like to shed light on those too, because to help our entrepreneurial ecosystem, there's so many entrepreneurs out there. So what is something you're currently challenged with in the business that you're working through?
Well, it's always going to be outreach. It's always going to be, outreach is always there for me as a challenge. I think I'm also gaining skills. Taking on and acquiring skills is always a challenge, like I said, I'm learning Claude Cowork, but I think outreach is the number one thing because you kind of like develop certain kind of avenues through your network, and you'll speak to a lot of people in a certain area, and then you'll kind of reach this point where, okay, there's nothing really occurring here. I need to up my volume. I need to work, like in these other areas, and so it's never the same day to day. It's always different, and that's part of the fun part of it too, is that you get to talk to a lot of different people, and it may not things may not come to fruition, but you're always kind of reaching out. But there is there is a drawback to that, and you get tired, you know, you're constantly uh, reaching out, and it can get frustrating, it can get daunting, it can get um, you know, depressing sometimes where you're like, oh my gosh, you know, like it's nothing's happening right now, you know. Okay, what do I do? And those are the times where I've found that, you know, if I lean on some of my friends in my network and just like they'll straighten my head out and they'll say, Bill, don't worry, you know, you're doing great. You just got to keep going, you know. And I think that as human beings, we always need that.
I agree with you. Yeah, we definitely need that encouragement and like, especially when, yeah, the outreach and you're like, oh, where's the ball going here? And it's, yeah, I know I completely get that. So thank you for sharing that. Now I want to get into a fun part of the conversation where I'm going to be asking four questions and you answer very top of mind.
All right.
All right. So question number one is, what is a key to success for you?
Key to success is, well, there's a couple of things, but consistency is number one. Just sticking with it, staying at it. Like we said, you know, like there's ups and downs, but just you got to keep plowing through. The other thing I think for me is I'm going to give you two. The other thing is being iterative and kind of brainstorming. I like to do that a lot with my clients where, you know, like just bringing ideas, iterating things like let's build it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll change it, we tweak it, and we move forward, you know. So I think that's a key aspect with any business, but in particular, ghostwriting and really finding that client voice because you're always, you know, clients are like, how are you going to capture my voice, you know? And
Mhm.
I've got like several different like most people fit into like five categories of voice, so to speak. And you can kind of, in the interview and based on what they've already written and put out there, you can kind of guess where they are, where they could straddle to, but they're, you know, usually in one category. And then you test it with them and you see and you throw things out there and you're going to need to tweak that and change that and then you know and they're like how did you do that, you know, it sounds like me, you know. And so that's a fun aspect too.
Definitely. All right. Second question is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Well, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but it would be, you know, market yourself. Like, you know,
Mhm.
take the time, do what you need to do. Uh, you know, of course, you got to pay the bills, you got to service your clients and all that. But you know, do the work to get yourself a solid platform that you can move off of because I've found that having a really tight offer and being able to like, you know, deliver that with confidence and clarity helps tremendously. And so when you're not there to do that face to face, your platforms should be able to do that for you.
Mm.
Whether it's your LinkedIn profile or your website or whatever, your social posts. Even within your social posts, you know, like there should always be a call to action, you know, some tag at the end that gives you some memorability for your ideal client. Yeah, so market yourself.
Market yourself. That is great advice. Number three, this is a fun one. It could be a book, an article, a podcast, just anything that has kind of resonated with you recently.
Recently, hmm, that's a great question. There's a book that I'm kind of reading right now. It's inspiring. It's called The Art of Dying Well, and it's by Saint Robert Bellarmine. And I'm reading it now because, you know, my father-in-law passed away a few months ago, and it was a big deal, you know, like I loved him. I love him to death. You know, he was awesome. And it was hard, you know, and but it has me really look at like, oh, you know, my parents are getting up there, I'm getting up there, my, you know, different friends and, you know, my siblings were getting up there. What does it take to die well, you know? And I saw this book and I started reading it, and it's really the whole premise of the book is to die well, you have to live well. You know, you really have to be intentional and be living the moment well, and then you can kind of like do that other thing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Sounds like a great book. The last question. Now, this is, you can take your time with this one. If I handed you a magic wand and you had the ability to improve one aspect of your business for the better, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I'm going to sound like a broken record with outreach. Um, I think, yeah, outreach, but forecasting, I think, you know, I'm always kind of like, I do several things all at once, like I'm working on this business. I'm also consulting in certain other areas. So, if I could forecast better, with ghostwriting, and kind of like, um, you know, I think fill my pipeline easier. That would be great.
Yeah, no, that's like very true. I get that. I get that. Thank you for sharing that, Bill. And now let's help get that going. Let's help that process. How can people connect with you and your company online?
Well, you can go to my LinkedIn profile. That's where I am. If you scroll down, in the project section, there's a project Educate and Enroll, and it's for healthcare professionals. But like I said, it doesn't. I've done work for many different types of clients. I've had a photographer, I've had a graphic designer, I've had an AI designer guy who works with just developing AI classes, and stuff. So I don't necessarily stay in that lane, that healthcare lane, even though I love it. But the kind of the project that's or the card that's in my LinkedIn account says educate and enroll. You can just go there, get a kind of general gist of what I do, and book a call with me through that right there.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill, for sharing that. For our final question of the day, what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh, wow. I would say Claude Cowork is really inspiring. As I said before, I'm delving into it, and I've been doing things over the last few days that are like, wow, this is going to really help a lot, in terms of vetting and scoring certain client, potential clients. I can put somebody's name in there, and I can kind of like look at all their properties and score them, and then kind of develop the outreach to them, and automating that whole thing is really inspiring me.
Incredible. Well, thank you. I'm a huge fan of AI as well. Bill, thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your story with me.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate, for having me. It's been a pleasure.